Germany when he was 18 and taught for many years at Columbia University, and spent his academic career exploring the roots of fascism, how fascism arose within Germany. And like many writers on fascism, Hannah Arendt included, felt that the genesis of this distortion was despair. Physical and moral decay of the United States and the malaise it has spawned have predictable results. We have seen in varying forms the consequences of social and political collapse during the twilight of the Greek and Roman empires, the Ottoman and Habsburg empires, Tsarist Russia, Weimar Germany, and the former Yugoslavia. Voices from the past, Aristotle, Cicero, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Joseph Goebbels, Televangelis warned us. Blinded by self-delusion and hubris, as if we are somehow exempt from human experience and human nature, we refuse to listen. The United States is a shadow of itself.
Oh, yeah.
It squanders its resources in futile military adventurism, a symptom of all empires in decay, as they attempt to restore a lost hegemony by force. Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, tens of millions of lives wrecked, failed states, enraged fanatics. There are 8.1 billion Muslims in the world, 24% of the global population. And we have turned virtually all of them into our enemies. We are piling up massive deficits, $3.1 trillion, on neglecting our basic infrastructure, including electrical grids, roads, bridges, and public transportation, to spend more on our military than all the other major powers on Earth combined. We are the world's largest producer and exporter of arms and munitions. The virtues we argue that we have a right to impose by force on others: human rights, democracy, the free market, the rule of law, and personal freedoms are mocked at home, where grotesque levels of social inequality and austerity programs have impoverished most of the public, destroyed democratic institutions, including Congress, the courts, and the press.
Good morning, Christine.
And created militarized forces of internal occupation to carry out wholesale surveillance of the public, run the largest prison system in the world, and gun down unarmed citizens in the streets with impunity. The American burlesque, darkly humorous, with its absurdities of Donald Trump, fake ballot boxes, conspiracy theorists who believe the deep state and Hollywood run a massive child sex trafficking ring, Christian fascists that place their faith in magic Jesus and teach creation.
Stop, Chris Hedges. Hold on. Hang on, Chris Hedges. You're getting a little ahead of yourself, brother. Human trafficking is a thing. That's been a thing since the beginning. Now, with the whole idea that nobody in Washington is fighting it, human trafficking is a thing. The number one budgetary expenditure is child protective services. That's not even a question. But I will give you the whole is Donald Trump fighting it. Nobody in Washington is fighting it. The president, did y'all know the president has the ability to remove all executive departments? He could have got rid of all of the acronym agencies in one shot. So this idea that somebody is fighting the deep state who actually has a pen who can just erase the deep state, the idea that Obama loves America, was on your side, the idea that Bush is in it for you with the Patriot Act. All of these guys work together. I think I'm going to do a panel this morning. What I wanted to do. Let me see if I sent the stream over. Yep, there goes the link right there. Why is it called Neptune? It's not supposed to be called Neptune. Good morning. Hey, is that Jonathan? Hogo is in the house. Hogo. Let me see. Edit live video. What is this called? Our times, current times, whatever you want to call it. I always like doing panels because it can go any which way, this away, that away, flip sway, not my way. So we'll let some panelists come in. First four come in. Where is the name? The video. Oh, that's right. You can't edit it. Can't edit the name of the video live. Oh well. I guess it's Neptune of our time-ish. Good morning, Kati. Good morning, Darlene. What is that? We are number 9 in Louisiana, Kentucky for sex trafficking. Sad and sick. Yep, that's what time to put your dukes up. Thank you for that, Darlene. Time to put your dukes up. It's time to stand up for the children around the world. And no matter who the president is, no matter who's in Congress, Senate, Supreme Court, no matter who is in that cult, United States Incorporated, you got to stand up for children, no matter where you're at, whether in Canada, Britain, Australia, Congo, doesn't matter where you are. We have one purpose on this planet, and that's making sure the children are safe. And guess what? Ain't safe. Darlene knows that. Not safe. Hashtag not safe. We got no business supporting human trafficking. That's got to get addressed no matter who the president is. Good morning, Diane. Watching Chaos Magic. What is Chaos Magic? Well, these are like chaositicians. Not sure if they're magicians, but they're well, I guess maybe. I don't know. They seem to control 7 billion people. You know what I was enjoying this morning? And my lack of not having a life, trying to educate myself. I was enjoying a great documentary about, I'm gonna say it wrong. Is it called the London Corporation or is it the City of London Corporation? The basis of the Bank of England, that powerful banking guild that the UK government bows to, that the United States Incorporation tries to defy, but basically bows to. Something about the United States Incorporated influence in terms of banking through the Federal Reserve is like 20%. And the Bank of England, London City, the way that they utilize trusts and usurp power over all other nations through their central banks, through debt, bringing nations to their knees, requiring the legislation. They hold something like 40 to 50%. And I don't even know what that means, world banking power, but basically, after it was the name of the video. The name of the video was The Second Empire of England. I think that's what it's called. What I'll have to do is, I think I shared the link. I think I shared the link on my website. I need to share the link elsewhere. Basically, it was the Second British Empire. After the first collapsed, they created a second banking empire and how they controlled the world. Lori Jenkins! Come on.
Good morning.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me turn the music off. Kill it. Did you hear the music?
No.
No? Okay, well.
I didn't hear.
Okay. Oh, you were at slavery this morning.
Yeah. I'm not going to stay long.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I'd rather have a bit of a conversation today. So, what is your take on what's going on around the world right now? Well, does it even matter who won the election?
No. I think New World Order kind of says it all in 3 words. So people not understanding that or understanding it, whatever. What difference does it make? It's like Coke or Pepsi.
Coke or Pepsi, taste the same, Gonna make you bubble up in your stomach, give you a little gas. It's carcinogen, full of sugars. But I think what this did is help us to unfortunately identify some people who perhaps were a little more leaning one side or the other, which is okay. I mean, we all have our shortcomings, but it's just so easy to get pulled into it. It's just so easy if you're watching the news, or if you're watching the live streams, and you're watching your news feed, and they're tracking it like it's so important, like it's the end of the world if we can't figure out who the president is this one, it's going to do this, flip this, that. And I got pulled into a little bit. In fact, your post actually pulled me back, which I appreciate. Is you post, you're like, what the hell, people? It doesn't matter. And I stopped and like, wait a minute, you're right. I mean, if we don't control our banking system, we don't control the purse to our country, we don't even have a government. This is all. But the show it's so entertaining. They put the lions and tigers in the Coliseum. They get to fight each other, and it's so easy to fall into the narrative again, and we forget.
Yeah, they threaten us. They threaten us with the idea that, oh, if this one wins, it's going to be civil war. It's like, really? We're already under a worldwide lockdown with top-down authority all over the world. So really, if one of them, because of a presidential election, we're going to have a civil war. Like I said to the goddess tribe, I don't see anybody picking out gray and blue uniforms and picking their guns up, to shoot each other. I don't see the civil war personally.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, I think we aren't those people anymore, which is a good thing. I think, our backs against the wall, we could become those people. I don't think they'll ever push our backs against the wall that hard, because they just want to make profit and control, right? They don't want to destroy the planet. And they know if they push, people too far, that's actually what they'll get. But I tell you, you were talking about the lockdowns. I kind of caught a case this morning because I was listening to, I think I want to say it was Corbett. He was talking about how in the UK there were Twitter posts about there were people who were like denied medical care. So there were elderly who came in. They were specifically talking about a gentleman who I think it was 82 or something like that, where he came in looking for medical assistance, and they refused to put him on a ventilator because they wanted to save the ventilator for the common cold patients coming in, which I got that from you, and I have to use that a lot more. And that they basically did like a what is that called in the military in times of war, where you just do triage, you determine who gets to live and who gets to die, because he's so old, he doesn't deserve to have treatment. And so he died because they refused him care. And so that warrants my anti-lockdown post. Like, lockdowns, it's murder. You're literally killing people. And if you're colluding with that, you need to try not to be so evil.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio on my way driving to work this morning. So there was this ad for forehead scanners, and they were saying, everybody buy one and check your family's temperature twice a day with them to prevent COVID. Since when does a thermometer prevent anything? Anything at all? Common sense has just blown out the window. Like, come on. Masks don't prevent anything at all except free breathing, oxygen exchange, Well, that's all it prevents. We were taught in school that there are very few airborne diseases, and one of them would be tuberculosis. So in the hospitals, they would have 1 or 2 rooms in these gigantic hospitals in downtown Houston, in the Texas Medical Center, 1 or 2 TB rooms that had reverse flow air conditioning that filtered out the air, non-recyclable. You had to wear the monkey face mask to go enter the room, etc. I never saw a healthcare person contract TB. I'm sure that did happen. I'm just saying, in my experience, that never happened from them taking care of the patient. So now all of a sudden, this thing is airborne. What we were taught was, yes, coughs and sneezes, you're blowing that shit out of your body. And that the way it transmits is by touch. Like you don't wash your hands, you're getting mucus and stuff on them. Or you don't wash your hands, you're opening a doorknob. It's called fomites. The next person that touches the doorknob, it's on their hand. And then what if they do this? Or scratch their face, whatever. Masks don't prevent that. Hand sanitizer doesn't even prevent that. Just self-cleaning. When you poop, you wipe your butt. When you sneeze into your hand or cough, clean your hands. Common sense. And they've just made it, turned everything so negative and such blatant turning science on its head that it's crazy. Like, I believe that power of positive thinking idea. If you get a little scratchy throat and you think, this is going to pass, I'm still feeling good, I might drink some elderberry tea or take a little vitamin C or whatever today, eat some oranges, you're going to have a much better chance of it actually passing quickly. If you think, oh my God, I've got the plague, I'm going to die, those negative thoughts are going to affect you and your entire body. So that's what we're living in. Like, they pump the negative at us continually.
Yeah. Well, they excel at it. They succeed at it. And like you said, Purell and the masks and all this stuff is consumerism, right? All this stuff is profitable. Like, they're taking a problem and they're trying to figure out how to capitalize on a problem that is actually very illogical that's even occurring. And that was the first question that came to mind when they started, promoting this, of course, coming from the big pharma industry. I saw it coming a lot. They got me a whole bunch of times. I mean, the big one they got me was probably, I think it was swine flu. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, went to the store, got the toilet paper, got this, that, and the other, stocked up on this, got my Theraflu and Tamiflu. I remember getting both of them just in case. And when this happened, I just said, the odds that we are in a global pandemic are zero, because the odds that we've lived through a global pandemic are zero. We've never been alive during one. So the odds that one's happening right now are pretty much not possible or statistically unlikely. And then where it brings us to today. And I kind of jumped back and forth. I wasn't like, immediately I'm go outside and play with everybody and cough and sneeze. It was, let me have a little hesitation, but let's watch and see how this goes. And once again, with the whole stimulus thing, right? When they tried to put the digital dollar in the stimulus, that was the hint that they're just trying to capitalize from whatever's happening. Like you said, it is a common cold. Could have been altered, could have been a zoonosis shift. There's some sort of shift that's hurting people, but it's nowhere near what's being said. And the vast majority of the people have to already being poisoned by their government with comorbidities. So if the 200,000 people weren't being poisoned by the air, food, and the water in a big pharmaceutical industry that profits from them staying sick, they'd still be alive. So we're just dealing with the common cold and an ignorant demic of people not realizing that governments want more power, corporations want to capitalize on any sort of thing that generates enough public fear. And now they're talking about doing another lockdown. So anyway,
like, I just look in my own life. I work, hey, Paul, I work in a clinic where 80 people come to get dialysis, 60 come 3 times a week on the blood machine. My patients come once a month because they do their dialysis at home without blood involved. But out of that group, there's been some positive COVID test results, and some of the hemodialysis patients have gone to a center in town where it's all COVID. Not one person out of that 80 has died in this pandemic, and they don't have kidney function. they're at risk for a lot of things, and they get a lot of other diseases and illnesses. Nobody's dead, y'all. So I'll be quiet now.
What's your take, Paul?
Well, pretty much the same as far as the numbers go, and false positives and comorbidities, and it's looking like a normal flu season, all hyped up on media steroids. So that's my take on it.
Yep, and the rich have all gotten richer through this. The Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, and all of those guys. All their bank accounts have fattened during this.
And the banks themselves, of course, they're going to become very rich. And people can't pay their loans, and they start grabbing property, assets, resources. So I see a takeover from the 1%, or the 1 percentile of 1%. They're pretty much just taking control, and if people need a reason or like an agenda behind that, and that's just what greed does. It just goes crazy and wants more and more. So sorry.
Yeah,
that's the only answer I have.
Yeah, and I love the financial answer. I love the banking answer, right? Like basically taking the British banking empire, Bank of England, Crown Corporation, whatever you want to call it, and they're rolling it into the Third Empire, which is like a digital slave plantation, social engineered society, and all of this, whether planned or not, is unstoppable. Right, you can't stop greed, like you said. It's not a thing. It's not like it's something is after us. It is just literally our collective ignorance, and everybody feeding into what the media is doing, corporations are doing, the billionaires are doing, the governments are doing, the banks are doing, and we're literally, by us giving our energy over to fear and consumerism, and not doing the things we should be doing, which is saying, well, wait a minute, if not having an immune system means I got to die from the common cold, in 1 year it might shift into something different that might target white blood cells or something else, and I need to go eat healthy, and I need to make my kids eat healthy. I need to start preparing some of my own foods instead of going to McDonald's and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it always gets back to us. And the more and more I think about it, it just always comes back to our individual collective mirrors, and that we're feeding into a system that's constantly enslaving us, because we're all like little rats climbing for control and climbing to be right. And it's the COVID, and it's this, that, and the other. I got to make more money, get a better job, get a promotion, blah, blah, blah. And I got to have a better mask. My mask got to match my socks, got to match the belt. So you have all of these people in the system that are constantly trying to fight to the top. But it tightens the shackles on all of us to be in conflict with one another.
Yeah, I think it's kind of put into system a long time ago, and that's kind of the problem. People don't really realize that we have systemized the whole tyranny, and everything is a pyramid structure, and we have the same problem going over and over again. What we need is a new structure of government altogether, where we don't allow these power positions to come in and corrupt, the basic essence of the system, which was, the people are in charge and not some elite on top. You even fought a war over there to get rid of the monarchy, and then you just replaced it with just criminals pretty much in the same position. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I always feel like, the Constitution, yeah, that's a great document, and the Declaration of Independence, but it was still for an elite group of people. It wasn't for everybody. It wasn't for the people who already lived here. It wasn't for the slaves of the people. It wasn't for the women either. It was for, those guys. So beautiful document. It's never been fully implemented, ever, not even before 1871. People weren't created equal in God's eyes under that Constitution, even though it stated so. It was a lie in itself, basically.
Yeah. Well, it was a sheet of paper. I view it as my first interactions with who Joe Biden was, which is why I'm not a fan, and I never will be. He's a brother in the family, and I love him, but I don't really like what he does much. It was with the VAWA, the Violence Against Women's Act. You know, he wrote that, and based on the name, I thought it was a good thing. I was just and I ran into a lady who ran a domestic violence shelter, and she said, no, she said it's the most horrible thing that's ever been written. It basically gives a sheet of paper to women who have violent men at home, and they tell them that here, this sheet of paper is going to protect you. Right? It means for lawyers to make a lot of money, police to not have to respond to certain calls, judges to make a lot of. He was a lawyer, so he was doing his job, which was feeding wealth into his industry. The side effect is domestic violence. They say they say it went up, then it went down, but spousal murder went through the roof. Why? Because a woman who really has trouble with somebody at home who just takes this sheet of paper and says, you have to leave. You can't come within 1,000 feet of the house. He just takes the knife out and stabs her through the paper. So I wasn't interested in Biden, but the whole point behind that was that, the Constitution, it's a sheet of paper, right? It has no meaning. It has no power. It's not a spiritual thing. It is a piece of paper. It is useless as firewood if people don't believe it. Right? The power of rights are the people. And if I'm willing to make sure that Paul has his rights and I will stand for his rights, then Paul might stand for mine. I stand for yours and you stand for mine, even the ones that don't like, even the ones that scare me. Even if I've been eating donuts and Twinkies for breakfast with soda and Pop Rocks and my immune system doesn't work and the flu comes around, I won't agree to your lockdown because the problem is me. The problem that I need to fix is in my own mirror. So I'll stand for your rights to be free. And I think that's where we need to be. But I believe in the direction they were going with the Constitution. It's starting to give rights back to the people from feudalism. But we have to get to the sovereignty part. Right? And I think that's something, if I talk to both of you guys independently, I think that's something that both of you believe in. You can talk to that if you want, but I think that's where we always get led astray. Is we can have some sort of we the people, we own the government, we tell them what to do, but then they scare us into giving up rights again. We end up right back in the same type of feudalism we just left. Until we lock in at sovereignty and say that this person has rights. It doesn't really matter if this is a man or a woman. It doesn't matter if it's a landowner. It doesn't matter if they have this color skin or this religion or not. This is a sovereign person, and nothing can affect their sovereignty, or nothing can violate it. So I think just as a species, we got to discover that consciousness, which is something I'm exploring, right? That all sensing, being able to sense all 7 billion people around the planet and stand up for them as the individuals that they are. And until we really, I think, get to that conscious point, everything we do is going to fail. Everything we do eventually is going to blow up and become a crap sandwich like what we got today.
Well, we have a perfect example, or perfect opportunity to test this theory. Right now, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of movement, and of course the freedom of speech are all under threat. But the American people seem to be very, accepting of this, and not standing up and revolting against what is essentially an attack on the Constitution, because that's 3 constitutional given rights: the freedom of movement and the freedom of assembly, and of course the freedom of speech. Without those, you can't really oppose a government put into power. You can't really make a new government without the freedom of assembly. It's pretty much the essential parts of a democracy that they are undermining right now. And I'm just here to tell people it's time to fight back. This is not where we want to go. So again, done.
Yeah. And I agree with that. It's time to draw a line in the sand. And if they bring it to us, then we need to give it back to them. I agree with that. I'm not a violent person, and I don't believe in starting a conflict crazy like that. I think the United States Incorporated will kill anybody who shows up with a knife, a stick, or a tar and feather. But at a certain point in time, we have to say, you're not crossing this line. We backed up. They backed us up. We drew a new line. They backed us up. They took our free speech. They backed us up. They took this. And at a certain point in time, we have to say, this is the red line. This is it. You're not doing this. And everybody, I think, has to pick and choose where that's going to be. And to your point, Paul, I think Americans have it in them. Americans are just scared. Right? Americans, when they're right now, they're scared. And when they realize that they have more to fear from a new world order and digital social credit score, enslavement of everybody, than across the racial spectrum or across the political spectrum or whatever they think they are, when they stop fearing that, great things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, boundaries, kind of hit on that word boundary. That's what we learn as we protect our own selves spiritually, emotionally through life is, as adults, we say, oh, that's not good for me. This person, does things that are harmful to me. So my boundary is I'm not going to be around them, whatever it is. And so, yeah, that's where we are as a collective. Like, we don't have those boundaries. It's like, yeah, tell us to wear a mask and we'll do it. Tell us to close down our independent businesses. We'll do it. We'll wait for the handouts. We'll sit at home and watch TV all day or whatever. Some point it's got to be, no, I'm not. You're not going to put that vaccine in my body. I don't need it. I've always gotten over the common cold when I have caught it in my life. I don't need your vaccine. I don't want your vaccine. I am afraid of your vaccine and your rhetoric, not of a coronavirus or a so-called COVID-19. I'm not afraid of that at all. I'm afraid of your evil intent. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to agree. It does look like they already succeeded in scaring people into being compliant here. But what could we potentially do, or the American people against its government, to like give the message that we don't want this, unless we're talking about running on them with pitchforks and what Gerard said. Do we actually have a fail-safe way now of getting rid of these criminals?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I knew I was going to stomp both of you on that one. But this is pretty much, they made a maze. We're mice, and they made a maze, and we can't find the exit here. And we have to work together and collect data on the whole maze, and the people who are really into the whole constitutional thing, they will probably tell you can do this and you can do that, or you can declare yourself sovereign, or you can stop paying taxes. But like, if say 50 million people stop paying taxes all at once, that would actually do something. That would make the politicians go, what to do, so we need something to push back with.
I think it's anything, everywhere, everyone. I think that you pick and choose where you're going to push back, but mostly, in the analogy, being a mouse in the maze, what they need is we'll never find the cheese, right? Like, we're never going to get out. What they want is they want us to look for the cheese, right? They want us to keep moving and keep looking and looking for the way out. And I think in that scenario, the mouse just has to stop moving. We have to stop being part of the experiment. And so, in any way that you can remove yourself from that system, whether it's not voting, whether it's removing your consent, whether it's not paying your taxes, which you might want to think about that because the SWAT team, IRS has a SWAT team, and they're the least likely to play with dissent. You know, whether it's protesting, like, you know, however people need to do it, they should do it, but they certainly want to, you know, find a means of saying no to the system. It just needs you to say yes. It needs you to keep looking for the cheese, and we have to stop looking for the cheese. Stop looking for the better job. Stop looking for more money. Stop looking, going back to get the next degree to do the new thing. We need the world to come to a halt so we can fix it. It's like an engine. The engine's running because we're not a hamster in a maze. We keep going. We need to turn the key off. We need to stop running so we can actually fix the engine and for the sake of the next generation.
Yeah, I'm like picturing this system as a corporation, and we are the, you know, underpaid employees, and the politicians are crazy CEOs. Just like, you know, they don't have that pledge to do right for the citizens and all that stuff. It's all about just making a profit for themselves and just keep running the game. So, you know, again, I see the problem as putting people into power positions in the pyramid structure that is automatically going to lead to some problems. Um, I've had some experience from social media giving people, you know, quote unquote power over a Facebook page, and some of them really go nuts just, you know, just running a simple page. So imagine, you know, you wake up one day and you get to say what 100 million people do. Yes, that might actually make you go a bit cuckoo in the head.
It's insanity. It's insanity. I like how someone asked the question and said, who actually would want to run to be president of 200 million people? Like, who would actually
I can drum up like thousands in a day, because it's so, you know, it's so latent in the human to want that power, because we have one major driver. We have many, but one of them is, of course, the fear of death. That's kind of what drives life overall. If we didn't want to live, you know, you get the whole equation here. But that's a way to manipulate people. And I remember an expression called fear mongering that seemed to have disappeared completely from everything since that coronavirus showed up. Nobody actually uses fear mongering and corona in the same sentence, but that is very much what it is. And, you know, we have thousands of experts and politicians and people going against this lockdown, but they are being suppressed in the media. Nobody hears about that. And nobody, you know, even hears fear mongering. I've been like looking for it. Isn't one person going to say fearmonger and COVID in the same sentence? No, the media won't allow it. So,
well, yeah, and that's where it comes into kind of doing your own research and looking at what actually is going on. You know, the media, the mainstream media, I got to echo what just happened. Yeah.
you have some audio issues.
Okay. Did you clear up?
I've been noticing this in other broadcasts too, but you have a slight echo and you keep breaking up.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
So I think you have some sort of feedback from your system or something. Not to go into technical things, but yeah. When it comes to this lockdown thing, just last weekend there was a gigantic protest in Germany. 20,000 people hit the street, and people didn't see that in the. I had to go look for it. I had to, you know, search it up on Google to actually find that, because I knew there was going to be a protest. But that's so simple. And when they say, like, do your own research, if people don't have access to the information, you know, the only thing you're allowed to look at is like flat Earth conspiracies and some Chinese guy building stuff in an impressive way. That's like the only videos they let through nowadays.
Yeah.
Nothing with constructive comment or any real facts. So I would say our number one priority is getting a voice back, because
Getting and access to information.
Yeah.
Access to information. Let
Yeah.
me do this. Take it real quick. I'm gonna go grab my other headset. I think that's what might be what's going on. So I'm gonna let you take it, or you want me to play? I've got I was listening to Chris Hedges' speech this morning. I don't know if you want to hear that.
Yeah, you can play that speech so I can go warm my tea.
All right, let's do it. I'll be right back. Thanks, bye.
As a result, their neighbor is for them not only a potential helper or sexual object, but also someone who tempts them to satisfy their aggressiveness on him, to exploit his capacity for work without compensation, to use him sexually without his consent, to seize his possessions, to humiliate him, to cause pain, to torture, and to kill him. Homo homini lupus. Who, in the face of all his experience of life and history, will have the courage to dispute this assertion? As a rule, this cruel aggressiveness waits for some provocation or puts itself at the service of some other purpose, whose goal might also have been reached by milder means. In circumstances that are favorable to it, when the mental counter forces which ordinarily inhibit it are out of action, it also manifests itself spontaneously and reveals man as a savage beast to whom consideration towards his own kind is something alien. Freud, like Primo Levi, got it. The moral life
citizens
is largely a matter of circumstances. Moral consideration, as I saw in the wars I covered, usually disappears in moments of extremity. It is too often the luxury of the privileged. 10% of any population is cruel no matter what, and 10% is merciful no matter what, and the remaining 80% can be moved in either direction, Susan Sontag said. To survive, it was necessary, Primo Levi wrote of life in the death camps, to throttle all dignity and kill all conscience, to climb down into the arena as a beast against other beasts, to let oneself be guided by those unsuspected subterranean forces which sustain families and individuals in cruel times. It was, a Hobbesian life, a continuous war of everyone against everyone. Varlam Shalamov, imprisoned for 25 years in Stalin's gulags, was equally pessimistic. All human emotions of love, friendship, envy, concern for one's fellow man, compassion, a longing for fame, honesty, he wrote, had left us with a flesh that had melted from our bodies during our long fasts. The camp was a great test of our moral strength, of our everyday morality, and 99% of us failed it. Conditions in the camps do not permit men to remain men. That is not what camps were created for. Social collapse will bring these latent pathologies to the surface. But the fact that circumstances can reduce us to savagery does not negate the moral life. As our empire implodes, and with it social cohesion, as the earth increasingly punishes us for our refusal to honor and protect the systems that give us life, triggering a
was a
scramble
great
for
test.
diminishing natural resources and huge climate migrations. We must face this darkness, not only around us, but within us. The dance macabre is already underway. Hundreds of thousands of Americans die each year from opioid overdoses, alcoholism, and suicide, what sociologists call deaths of despair. This despair fuels high rates of morbid obesity, perhaps 40% of the public, gambling addictions, pornification of the society with the ubiquitous images of sexual sadism, along with the proliferation of armed right-wing militias and nihilistic mass shootings. And as despair mounts, so will these acts of self-immolation. Those overwhelmed by despair seek magical solutions, whether in crisis cults such as the Christian right, or demagogues such as Trump, or rage-filled militias that see violence as a cleansing agent. As long as these dark pathologies are allowed to fester and grow, and the Democratic Party has made it clear it will not enact the kinds of radical social reforms that will curb these pathologies, the United States will continue its march towards disintegration and social upheaval. And removing Trump will neither halt nor slow the descent. An estimated 300,000 Americans will be dead from the COVID.
Heart medication.
Yes, it is.
They said that you were going to the toilet while Chris was talking.
Oh no, not this time. I had this time I had technical difficulties, so fuck. What the hell happened with BeLive? They changed like their interface and everything. Before you had the app, you download the app, you open it up with the app and you're fine. Now they want to open it up with Google Chrome. I'm like,
Yeah,
this
they
is a
turned
fucker.
into a web-based thing. You have feedback from your side.
No.
But they're trying to keep up, right? Because everybody's staying at home. So
You have to turn down your volume first.
Okay. All right, is that better?
Hello?
Yes.
No, what? No, still. I'm hearing myself louder than I hear you.
Uh-oh.
yeah, that's right.
1, 2. Yeah, it's gone now.
Is this better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to keep up. Everybody's staying at home because they're scared of the cuckoo virus. They're more scared of the cuckoo than eating organic food. And so they don't want to save grandmama. They just want to buy some products and some face diapers and dress up and look nice and pretty. And since the government is making a police state, and so they got to compete with Zoom. They got to compete with all the other tools that the hippies and the people who have working immune systems will have to use for the rest of their life till they die, because they're going to criminalize not having a vaccine.
All right. Speaking of that, Gerard, I have a question I want to ask you.
I'm not sure I want to hear your question. I'm not even sure who invited you. I'm not even sure. I must have. Did I add you to that list? That was a mistake. Damn it. Did I do that?
All right. Well, maybe it'll be for another. Maybe it'll be when you come on my show later. I don't know.
No, go ahead, bro. No, this is
right.
my thing.
Now,
when I do a panel, y'all can talk about anything you want.
Okay. All right. Well, I got a fun question. Now,
what? I'm not done. I'm not done. Their words that start with O. And somebody said they don't want anyone starting conversations on the panel that start with O. That's all I heard. gotta stick to the rules, bro.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. What's your question, man? I'm just messing with you.
now, if someone came from above and was like, Gerard, you will never get another disease in your life ever again. Not
Jesus,
even
I'm gonna tell you,
ones that are
Jesus gave me
contagious from other
disease.
people. But you
Jesus,
have to eat a
Buddha,
certain vegetable that
Muhammad,
starts with an
I'm
O.
gonna take the disease. I take diseases for number one. Diseases for 200. That's what I need. I need all the diseases.
Okay.
Bring me
I
all
just
the
wanted that on the record.
Just try it up, dude.
No. I finally found something that's worse than okra. I saw there was a video for they're making chitlin egg rolls. I think the only thing that makes me want to vomit up my guts for the last week is the idea of chitterlings, doo-doo tubes rolled up inside of an egg roll with eggs. That's a fusion that should never happen. You should never take African American chitlins and mix them with Asian egg rolls and put them in people's mouths. That's nasty. It's disgusting. People need to stop eating doo-doo and doo-doo tubes. That's worse than okra. Now I thought about it. That makes me want to throw
Wow.
up more than okra. Oh, I'm feeling
Yeah,
sick
I
now.
don't know what to say. It's actually healthy though, but never mind. But I still hear myself echoing on your side, Harsh.
All right. Well, I'll lower the volume again. Okay.
He's harsh medication, so he's at the hospital right now. He's got we treating patients.
Okay. Yeah, I see he's struggling to actually catch up. You actually just need a headset or something, dude. But
Yeah, I might have to get that. Hold on, let me.
Yeah, this wasn't a problem on our previous conversation. I'm guessing it's this app we're using here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it echoes if you don't have a headset. It picks up on you speaking, and then it also picks up on people speaking. And so when you speak the first time, and then you speak through the echo because you spoke twice, and then it picks everybody else's up as well. And so you gotta have a headset for these to work out. But no, I mean, I'm not anti-okra. You know, I'm not against okra. I don't know why everybody wants to abuse me with this ignorant stuff.
You know, I could actually prepare okra for you, and you would never know that you ate okra. You have to put it in a wok and season it properly, like fry it up, like Southern style, and it will taste good. But don't put it in a smoothie. That's kind of the worst way to eat anything that you want to avoid the taste of. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that noise that I just make, that. So it's not just, I feel like the monkey does like, it's not just that. It's not the taste. Taste is part of it. Consistency is the other. It tastes like, I don't know, someone got the cuckoo virus and they like coughed up through a mask that they wore for weeks on end and it dropped out and it landed on a tortilla or something. So it tastes disgusting. It's not the consistency of what I would say is something between a caterpillar and a slug, and their body tells them you need to eat bread or you need to eat this or don't eat that, whatever. And women are smart. They trust their body when they're pregnant because the body's telling them this is something good to eat more of this, that's bad, don't eat more of that. And every time I eat okra, you can hide it. Someone once hid okra in my soup. Okay. I ate the soup, and within 2 or 3 bites of, I see something ain't right with this soup. Like, I'm thinking that maybe it's not cooked right or something. Like, I joke because to me it's fun. I think, with okra and my okra, I don't know why most of my friends like okra. I'm gonna have to delete some people today. But I joke with it. But the reality is there actually is a very real thing about my body where it's just like, yeah.
So you get sick from eating it?
Oh yeah, like the smoothie. A good example. So I made my smoothies. Save grandmama. Yeah, this is what you do. You take the face diaper off, eat like you got some common damn sense, and I can put okra in that, and I won't taste it. But even with smoothies, because I did a video, and I think Lori was the one, she reposted it. And I put like half a bag of okra in, I was showing people that you make a smoothie and you put like some coconut milk or rice milk or almond milk or something, bananas, and avocado, you can really get it so that you can't taste anything else. So like that's the basis of most of my smoothies. And then I'll throw a bunch of vegetables in that I don't like the flavor of, but they don't make me sick. Cauliflower, peas, I'll get the mixed vegetable bag sometimes, all organic, say grandmama, and I'll mix them in and I can eat it. But even when I did that with okra, I did the video and I had to stop the video.
Well, it
I
might
did the
have
video.
it might have something to do with the consistency of the okra itself, and that it actually needs to be, broken down by heat and actually cooked before you can digest it properly. And maybe it's indigestion you're feeling. I'm just thinking out loud now.
It could be all these things, and like Lori said, it could be allergies, whatever. And that's just weird because I don't want to talk about me and okra. Like I try to do panels to get people to talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't feel. I feel. Let me tell you. So this is why I do this. I'm doing these panels, which I can't seem to get anybody to join. When I don't want to do a panel, like, oh, you should do a panel. Let me talk. And I do a panel. Nobody showed. You showed up, and I appreciate your support, brother. Is that I don't want to drive the discussion. I feel like I drive too much. I do my best to look at what people post in the room and try to, because you like to post about like the Venus Project and things like that, sustainable food systems. And so I try to, look at what you guys are typing and I'll try to push in that direction. So
yeah, I get you. But on that note, that's kind of the reason I jumped in here, because I don't know if you caught this new project we're doing. It's pretty much the same. We've been censored all over, me and you and everybody we know, and nobody's getting reach anymore. But we have a few ways of, working together if we do it using technology and strategy that can bring us a bit more reach again. So what we decided to do is just bring everybody together on one team to do one podcast, and then make a syndication, make a network of all these pages, all these YouTube channels, and actually just send ourselves out there and have these discussions on important issues. So we wanted to ask you to join this project, and I actually sent you a link on the DM. So yeah, you should actually watch us and join us tonight.
Oh, I will. Yeah, it sounds. Let me look at what I've got to do tonight. But yeah, I'm all up for solutions. We absolutely.
Our host, Joe Charter, Country Joe, and our panel members, Lori, Harsh, and myself, of course. And what's his name? Mark. That is Joe's co-host. He's also part
Joe
of
Workers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know Joe. Joe's supposed to be here.
Yeah, I fished these people right out of your chat.
Okay.
I put the suggestion in there. Let's just bring it all together, people, and that's what we're doing. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are. I created a list. If y'all don't know what he's talking about, for people who live stream, and these are good live streamers. I don't think everybody's on there, but not today. They're not today. They're good live streamers other days. Today they ain't worth a damn. Today, Paul, they just suck. Every last one of them, because I can't get 4 of them on. So today they're good live streamers, but on 11, 12, they all suck. Every last one of them. I love them to death, but but this is actually what we do have to do. Like, we do have to defy any way we can, and this is what we were talking about earlier. Nobody should be telling you how to defy. If you know how to organize people, if you can put together a Facebook page, if you can build a website, if you know how to live off grid, if you can grow your own food, if you can get away from consumerism, get away from sugar, you realize the common cold isn't something that you should be shaking in your boots over. You can take your mask off, eat healthy, teach your kids how to eat healthy, teach them how to make whole foods. Like any way you can, these are all off-grid solutions. These are all defy the system solutions. And this is one thing that I really respect you for, Paul. You've always stuck to that. You've always stuck hardcore off-grid, 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 and we have to off-grid in any and every way we can. Even if you just buy less staples from the staple company, you know, we need to start
just to clear up the whole off-grid thing. What I mean about off-grid is, you know, getting out of the dependence on big corporations and big systems or big government to give you power, to give you water, to give you everything you need. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have your own grid or a decentralized grid, a localized grid controlled by you or, you know, the locals in your community. But well, the basic sense of getting off grid is just starving the monster to death, starving the machine, you know.
Starve the machine. That's the way to put it. I'm glad. That's why I have you here. You got that to the point. Starve the machine. It's that simple. The machine needs your work. The machine needs you to run in the wheel. The machine needs you to shop at grocery stores that won't let you in unless you got a mask on. The machine needs you to buy the matching mask and make it look cute, and get your kid the matching mask and make it look cute, and take pictures and post them on Instagram. And I'm not talking about anybody who's doing that in a negative way. What I'm saying is that we all feed the beast in some way. Right? In all of our own different ways, we're consenting and we're helping fulfill the narrative that we talked about before, which is walking us into this new world order. And any way that you can walk away from the system is beneficial. I think someone posted something about the revolution takes 5 to 10%. Of most of the revolution, or the American Revolution, was falling 10% of the population. But to walk away from a crony capitalist system, that it only takes 5%. Like the system requires a certain amount of growth before it starts collapsing. And if just 5%, if everyone bought, in theory, 5% less, the system would collapse. It needs constant growth or will collapse. And that's where we are today with the global currency.
But then people get scared and think that means the collapse of the hospitals and schools and everything we actually need as well. So there's a trade-off. They accept the evil because they get, convenience and security and.
Yeah, I'm not a hope that it all collapses overnight person, and I am. The problem is we've built an unsustainable system that has band-aids everywhere. So if it collapses tomorrow, yeah, we might lose the hospitals for a moment, but only for a moment, right? Because the hospitals, as critical as we can be of Rockefeller medicine, it's full of doctors, nurses, people who will do their job even if there's no power. Like these, outside of the narrative of, get the vaccine hero, all that dancing and stuff that they did earlier. These people, most of them, are very passionate people. They don't have lights, power, water, the hospital shut down. They'll still be there trying to help people. They'll go door to door and try to help people. So I think most people will continue to do the thing that they've always done. And so the other side of the coin, I think about it, in a delayed collapse, is it allows them to put together narratives to build a new crony world. But also there are people who need immediate help right now. Right? There are people who need immediate help where if it doesn't collapse now, they're dying tomorrow. Right? Like the global American hegemony and wars all over the world, and we kill people every single day for their resources. So,
well, I have an analogy for this. When you see a building start to crumble and it's about to fall, you do a controlled demolition on it. And that is pretty much what we need to do. We need to make sure the system is broken down systematically instead of just falling on top of everyone.
Right.
So, yeah, right. I know that's easier said than done, but I just threw it out.
No, I think, well, not that it's easy, but it's not hard. It's just reach, right? It's like, the people who criticize and they'll say, well, all y'all do is just talk on the internet. And in order for there to be a controlled collapse, people have to know to get the hell out the building. Right? People have to know that, listen, guys, we're gonna pull the charges. Why? Because this is an evil, corrupt, criminal corporation that murders people as a business. Systemic inequality is a part of the system, and it's not going anywhere. It's invoked at the global level, and you need to get the hell out the building, right? And so for the hospital example, right? We talked about the comorbidities and the idea that we have a for-profit disease management system, not a healthcare system. That, people, okay, well, if the building's going to collapse, I realize there are other ways that I can see to my health other than constant medical invasive treatments. I need to start eating healthier. I need to start boosting my immune system. Depending on the grocery store, maybe I need to start growing some of my own food, or I need to start stocking up. And so in all these different ways, I think if people know what's coming, which is why it's the number one way they defy us, right? The number one way they defy us right now is censoring. The one thing that they fear more than anything else is people constant medical invasive treatments. Brother Joe, you got a headset here.
Yeah, hold on.
Boosting my immune system.
You have feedback too.
Yeah, I think I've got something here. Sorry about that. I think I've got your speaker on. I'm just gonna exit. Let's see.
Oh, but you're good now, actually.
Yeah, it sounds better. I think he muted or something. So no, I love the analogy. I mean, we do need to do a controlled collapse. I think to a degree this is a controlled collapse, right? Like following people who talk about global finance for years. That's what I always thought that this was, or that it would be used for. And now it's obvious that it is being used for resetting the global currencies because they want to stay in power and they just want to make their powers digital. So yeah. I think that to a degree, this is a controlled demolition. The building
it's not controlled by us. That's kind of the whole. Yeah,
right. It's not controlled by us.
As long as somebody else is pulling the charges and we didn't get the notice, and yeah, you get it.
Right. And so they're putting up signs, right? And they're trying to say, run in this building, go in this room, you get out the building, you jump out the window. And so everybody's like watching the news and the media based on where they are, and they're going where those who did the controlled collapse are telling them to go. And that's going to end in, depopulation. Like this morning I was listening to, I mentioned before, I think it was Corbett, and he was talking about in the UK, like the elderly people were just basically killed, just like the United States, right? The lockdown, to a degree, it was a senior genocide, right? They killed off a lot of very weak people. They denied them health care. They denied them access to the hospitals. Here, they shoved them all in nursing homes during flu season. So the common cold that kills them every single year killed vast amounts of them. And I don't want to give like a conspiracy, because I don't think that the governors, I think there are 5 states that are under federal investigation for this. I don't think that the governors, got together and said, hey, let's kill a bunch of old people. That's not how it works out. I think you have lobbyists and pharmaceutical interests who would indicate that, hey, this is bad, this is coming through, might be a good idea to not let senior homes deny anybody treatment. Like they're just trying to make money on drugs, right? They're trying to get more people being treated, but it has the added side effect of putting tens of thousands of senior citizens with limited functioning immune systems with the nurses and doctors that are working with all these common cold patients that are coming in, and they're giving it to all the others. And so they say that they've killed tens of thousands of senior citizens. So anyway, in that analogy, the whole point is we have a complete system that's completely unsustainable. The building is being collapsed. We're either determining we're all going to get the hell out the building and build new buildings, or we're going to go out the building, stand in line, let it collapse on who they want it to collapse on, and then go back in their new digital social credit score building. What they tell us. I think it's just time to defy any way, every way possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what's happening overall is, people, it's just in my business. Like I go out and try and sell, or I do sell commercials. I've sold several around this city since I moved back from Nashville. and I produce them and promote them and everything like that. Well, I had contracts before all this went on, and then all of a sudden they were all put on hold, like my renewals. And then couldn't, really go out and sell with all the confusion out there because nobody wanted to see it because of the fear factor of the invisible thing. And then you've got now, after 7 months of this, 8 months of this, you have people deciding whether or not they're going to stay in the business that they've been in for maybe 20 to 30 years. And so I'm out there interviewing people now, and I'm going out and trying to say, hey, do you need support? Do you need support? Yes, we need support. There's no business coming in. And then they're deciding too, in the same breath, we don't even know if we're going to stay open. One in particular was 19 years, and this was just last week. They've been in business for 19 years.
Yeah, it brings us back to, the whole survival thing. It shows that, the way most people live is not sustainable at all. And if you take just like that paper money away from them, everything will collapse. They don't have access to resources. They don't have their own water, their own food, or anything. And that's pretty much how we need to think about this, structuring the whole community to be independent of a bigger system, making everybody, self-sufficient, giving people the opportunity to produce solar and wind and water energy. And of course, automated grow systems as such. Even an old person can push a button and watch a little robot go back and forth on a field and deliver nutrients or pick out weeds or whatever. And we have the technology to make this world possible. But in the economic context, it doesn't make big companies a lot of money. And those are the ones who drive the interests in the market. So if it's not on their list of things to do, it's not going to be done. But we need it done, and we're the people. So we should be pushing this for all it's worth. And, if people want to talk about stimulus packages, just, make those systems functional. Get the fossil fuels out of transport and make everything green and clean. But that doesn't make money for big companies. That's the only problem standing in the way of us becoming a modern, sustainable world. So yeah, I'm pointing to the money again.
That's why I'm starting to call it the ignorant demic. That's what we have. We're in an ignorant demic. People are constantly voting and consenting to politicians that aren't doing a damn thing for anybody, them or anybody around them. Everything they do is for massive corporations. And so my only interest is whether or not they're using automation for the people. And, I didn't vote this time around, and I can't wait to not vote next time around. From my perspective, they can all go to hell. And they're all going to go to hell. They're going to take a lot of people with them. Well, this is actually his hell, so they don't have to go very far. They've created a hell on earth by constantly giving stimulus to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And well, you know what? Chris Hedges had a great quote. I posted this morning on that. He just basically said that something to the effect of, the only thing Americans can vote for is who they hate the most. Right. That's the only thing they vote for. Voting has nothing to do
hate the least. Man.
Yeah,
choosing between evils.
Well, right, and it's a hate vote. Which the context of his quote, which was, Americans vote for what they hate, and that's really what it is. They're not voting for anything to be done for them. Nothing for their streets. Nothing for their houses. The automation of growing food, building houses, providing more freedom. All the things like since the beginning of time. And I've said it probably 1,000 times. I'll probably hear me say it, but every piece of technology made was utilized for the human race, from the wheel to the cart, and everyone could mimic it. There were no copyrights. There was nothing restricting and holding back using the new inventions to make life easier. And now we live in a time where we have patents, we have secrecy to make sure that the wheel is not used for children who die from not having access to the wheel. And this is insanity. I appreciate the way you put it, which is just simply that these people aren't doing anything for you. They're not creating any stimulus to help you. I was looking at the posted a video. I think no one watched it. It was Christine, a documentary about central banking in China. It's called, I think it's called the Princes of the Yen, and how central banking, got started after World War II. And it was just interesting to hear what the United States Incorporated did for the Japanese people. They literally gave them the land back from the oligarchs. If they lived on the land, they gave them the land back, and they printed money through the central banks to make sure that they had the ability to develop the land. The Japanese people developed so much wealth, like their economy became the revere of the world for a period of time. And that's what gave the yuan the strength that it does, or not the yen. What's the name of the currency? Anyway,
Yen.
The point is the yen. Okay, so the whole point of it though was they can do that. They will definitely do that to defy their enemy and the oligarchs in a foreign land. They won't do a damn thing for the people in their own land because, well, this is a slave plantation.
Pretty much.
All you can do is hate each other. And to me, I kind of put on Americans because it is the place of Americans to stand up, right? The dollar is the world's global reserve currency. So everyone all over the world, to a large degree, is mostly being oppressed via America, via the Bank of England, and all the colonization. And so Americans sit here and they whine back and forth to each other about equality, and privilege, and supremacy, and their rights, and rights to have guns, and whatever they want to cry about, while the whole world, for the most part, and certainly the entire third world, is under their boot. It is the place of Americans to lay down their privilege, their ignorance, their supremacy for U.S. hegemony and slavery all over the world, and stand up for people they've never met, because everything that come out of these stores is stolen. So anyway, I just went back. I ran for hours.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know. When I know we were doing a lot of business with Japan, of course, after the event, and in rebuilding, like you say, and then after that, all of a sudden, and I can't imagine Japan was too happy when the U.S. started doing business with China. I can't imagine that time period. I'm not knowledgeable about it, but after the war, it's like then all of a sudden later on we're doing business with the communists. I mean, Japan couldn't have been too happy about that in the end either.
Well, they did attack China, so
anyway, but the United States started doing business with them, and building up China.
Well,
yeah,
and
the Japanese military moved straight into China and started taking over parts of it, but got pushed back after a few years. But they did start a war and claim that China's economic corruption was part of the motive. But yeah, I guess that's a discussion for itself.
Hannah Wallace says, I don't know if you all have looked into the Libertarian Party, but she says our ideas and the way we sound and our political views sounds libertarian. Well, that's, I'll just respond from my standpoint. The Libertarian Party is just, another party. I do think that, there's some synergies that can be brought, but we're not looking for leaders. We are the news. This is my thinking. I'm not looking for any leaders. I'm looking for people, especially you, Hannah. You have so much to offer. Everybody has something to offer out there. And so that's the way we need to go about our life going forward to change the vibration that's happening. We can't depend on a party. We can't depend on this system anymore. How do you guys? Did I say everything? Okay.
I was in the Libertarian Party. I was a libertarian. I was in the Libertarian Party. But so what happened, Hannah, I agree with most of their concepts that people need to be free. They need liberty. They need freedom from authority and force and control, police states and war states. But the problem with the Libertarian Party is what Joe said. It's another party within a war party, right? So like, the direction I'm going, and most people here are what's sending me this direction is more principle thinking, more systematic understanding. And so they give us a Libertarian Party, they give us a Democrat Party, they give us a Republican Party, they give us a Constitutional Party. And if you got a whole bunch of new people who jump up and they think they're green, they're going to give us a Green Party. I was a member of the Green Party too. And so, but it's still it's a party within a war system, right? It's a party within a system whose number one budgetary expenditure is human trafficking. It's a colonization system. It's a debt-based banking cabal. And so no matter what party you have from within the system, you're still supporting the system. And so, watching this, for my life and listening to some of the smartest people I know, it led me to leaving the Libertarian Party, because the Libertarian Party will never find liberty from within a corporation that requires enslavement. And I think we as Americans, we have to think more in the mindset of that. If this is a tank, sure, we can put flowers in the turret, we can paint it pink, and we can paint pretty pictures on the outside of the tank, but at the end of the day, it's still a tank. And maybe we need
the whole idea about voting for a party is pretty outdated. And, people still fall for that thing. If you agree with 1, 2, 3 things, then is it the Libertarian Party or the Green Party? That's the party for me. But what about all the other issues? This is just a scam to get everybody in on the same, party
system
level. Yeah. So then you can start. So we have so and so many people that support us now, and now we can push our power agenda forward. And if we had issue per issue instead of a party that like lumped stuff together and say, if you agree with us on this, you'll have to agree with us on that. And people do that trade-off. Like, okay, I can go for making abortion illegal if I get to not pay taxes or something. Like, but we have to vote on each and every issue here separately, independently, and not just lump everything together and call it an ism. All isms are flawed. You don't get a working ism. You have to pick pieces of these different systems if you want to put something that works together. But that's how, if you label something, that you can kill it that way. That's a perfect way to kill off the opposition, by calling it an ism, like communism or libertarianism or fascism, or it's such a flawed way of categorizing things, and like I said, it reflects this old scam that you get people in, by offering them, just like Trump did. We'll build a wall. We'll do this. We'll do that. Well, the real thing was that he never did anything. He just threw it out there, while all the party interests and all the money interests, they all did their thing. While maybe a big recession came in, the people who wanted to make money, they made a shit ton of money off of Trump. Just an example.
And no, I think it was a great point, and it brought up in my mind that basically, Trump is just he's just shining up the system for certain people to follow. I mean, he's just shining it up and saying, "Here you go, and check it out. I'm doing a better job with the system than the last guy," and that's it. And then if we get the Libertarian Party, if we're gonna say parties like you said, and isms and all this stuff, then we're kind of just doing the same thing and really just beating the dead horse, as the expression goes. Now, that's not to say that those people don't have great ideas, and I'm sure they'll probably end up, we'll have one on the show, as a panelist one day. That somebody
Yeah,
very strong.
I'm all for people being specialists in their field. And you know, if we should like use Trump for something, I guess it would be insulting people. He's a great insulter, but I wouldn't have him in any other position, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Like trying to run the local dry cleaner or something. You'd probably fuck that up. But insulting people,
So you know, just because it's fun
That's
to
funny.
shake, it's fun to shake things up, and people still go by racist. So I said, two white dudes on the show said negative things about Trump. I'm gonna say some positive things. I don't care what y'all think. So, and then I'm gonna say something really negative. But no. So first of all, I found out something new this morning. So did you know that fake news was not a Trump saying? You know who said that first?
I do
like
actually. I think.
Napoleon.
Huh?
Napoleon?
Well, no. In our modern days.
I thought it was maybe Alex Jones. I can't remember now. It did start. It wasn't with Trump. It was something.
Well, I'm just leaning on politicians. It was Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It was on the other side. The left started it. Yes.
She said it first in the speech. Why? Because they were trying to walk us into the Propaganda Act, right? They were trying to come up with a reason for censoring things that didn't agree with the corporate and war narrative. So she used fake news. And then Trump took that and ran with it. And I loved it for 4 years and him fighting with the media, because probably the biggest problem on this planet probably is the fact that human beings do not have access to real information, right? The number one tool of propaganda isn't the lies that they tell, it's the information that they hold back, right? That's what makes it so powerful. Knowledge is power. And if you hold knowledge back, it's very powerful. And the second thing is the wall. The wall wasn't Trump's idea either. That was another Hillary Clinton. And so what he is, to a large degree, and you know, once again, Trump is just another brother in the family. Love him to death. Don't like some of the things he did. Like some of the things, like Obama, like everybody else. But there was a thought I had this morning watching, listening to somebody, and he basically said that the president has the executive power over all the executive cabinets. So that at any point in time, he could have gotten rid of the NSA, he could have gotten rid of the CIA, he could have gotten rid of the FBI at any point in time, you know, because the whole narrative for 4 years is he's fighting the deep state.
Yeah, but the problem is,
to me that, well,
the
so
Secret Service.
Well, I was gonna say this real quick. What he could have done, he didn't have to fight the deep state. He literally could have took his pen and just made them disappear, and he didn't do it.
Well, yeah, that's the point I want to address, because the Secret Service is, you know, is pretty much responsible for his life or death. As such, they protect him. He's just one person, and you know, when they do the secret briefing, that's pretty much, you know, the whole thing. They explain how the system works. That he, as a president, he can't actually break that apart because of national security concerns. You know, they double stamped everything and made it impossible to access. So yeah, in my view, it's pretty much a puppet position. You could never actually do anything that might be like the myth around what a president can do. He can sit there and he can take the fall for whatever bullshit the deep state does. But that's pretty much his job, you know, being the fall guy. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
And now it's Biden's turn to be the fall guy. Like it was Obama's turn. Like, and so no one defies the system. No one actually fights the system because everyone blames the patsy. And this is how the 0.01% have been playing us to death for years, which is why I'm happy Hogo has joined us. Viva la France!
What's up, everybody?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. It's time to wind down, and I've been enjoying the live, and I've been enjoying what Paul's been saying. Is that my buddy CJ there?
I'm Joe. Hi,
Joe.
Jonathan. Yeah. Hi.
Joe, do I know you?
I think. Let's see. No, but I've seen you on live streams, and also it seems like lately you were putting out some statements of some kind. I saw on either Facebook or something like that. It seemed like it. Yeah, it was almost like you were putting some stuff out, but maybe I don't know. But no, I don't think I know you personally.
Okay, well, I've seen you, and it was a very interesting topic. I like the dialogue. I figured the with the backdrop of all the vegetables, I figured it was meant to be.
It gives me energy just looking at them.
It does.
It really does. The visuals make a difference. Yep, and it actually just makes you feel good that there's good food sitting up there. I like it.
Well, that's how you know that your body is in sync with human food, and you're saving grandma. Like the one thing that blew my mind when I started eating more fruits and vegetables, and then I became a vegetarian, is I just hate vegetables. I couldn't stand the sight of them. I didn't have anything to do with them. I mean, most of them came out of cans, I thought, because my mother grew up on a farm, but decided it was easier to shop at the grocery store. That's another discussion. But when I started eating more and more, my body started associating certain vegetables with certain compounds. And after a while, like now, if I see a chocolate bar, I don't salivate. When I used to see a chocolate bar, I would salivate. When I see a steak now, I don't salivate. And so when your body starts getting back in tune and sync with raw natural foods, and it's not that you shouldn't eat steak or chocolate or anything like that. It's just that when you start looking at human food that we've been eating for 1,000,000 years, then your body is getting back in tune and sync, and it knows what it needs and when. So you eat the eggplant, it affiliates the compounds and enzymes in the eggplant with what's in the eggplant. So when you need those compounds, your body will tell you to eat eggplant, and that's how the human body's supposed to work in teaching you what it needs to resolve certain problems in it. But if you're still eating like the food chemist experiments where they're taking the compounds out of the eggplant and they're putting it in a burger or something, then your body thinks it's going to get that compound from the burger, but that's synthetic. And it doesn't come along with all the other things that are in the whole food. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and I'm taking the topic in another discussion, but I'm just giving an example of like how the body of a pregnant woman works and how her body tells her, this is what I need to eat because I need the compounds in that for my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess in Russia, they're still doing community farming. From what I understand, it's anywhere from 40 to 60% of the population is working together to grow food.
Yeah, that's pretty much how the old country was set up. So even though they had a lot of statism and such, they didn't rip apart what fed Russia. So they didn't make that same mistake as China did, that like had everybody making like stupid stuff you can't eat. Like they made everybody into production units, and it broke the whole communist experiment in 2 pieces. So, or 1,000 pieces, all depending on how you view it. But Russia did not do the same thing. They kept a lot of this, farming community stuff. And on that point, I want to say, like, Back to the Future. If we actually go back to community farming and like regenerative living in that fashion, we will beat the system in that way.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to fire off a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you control the population is through the food, right? If you control the food, you control the population. And so if your government gives a damn about you, or if they're on your side, or if they want a strong population, by letting you own land, helping you to grow your own food, building up your individual strength and individual communities, versus breaking you down, poisoning your food, and getting you to shop at the grocery store.
It's an old military strategy. There's an old English saying that goes, an army marches on its stomach.
Yes.
So, yeah. So you go for the food resources first. If you're invading a country, you make sure you have food for your soldiers, and you take the food away from the other people, so you don't get any resistance.
But that was salting the earth, right? And I forgot, I think that was probably before biblical times, but Once the army invaded and conquered the people, they would salt the earth. They would salt your field so that you couldn't grow any food for so many years.
Or burn
You
them.
would be beholden to your new conquerors. And that's
Something called the scorched earth tactic. That was the Russians. They knew exactly how to do this. They burnt everything out when they like took Germany, for instance. They pushed the Germans right back, you know?
It makes you think about a glyphosate earth policy, right? Using pesticides and chemicals to kill off the microbes in the ground so that people can't grow their own food. And as a side effect, it's a carcinogen. They're literally making people weak. And so
what they did was,
when the common cold came through, all these people died because they're literally treating your population like it's the enemy.
Just so I get this true, what they did when the Germans came at them, they burned off the fields and they moved everything back, took the resources they needed and everything, and they burned everything. They burned the fields, they burned every resource. So when the Germans came, they had nothing to raid. They had nothing to eat. And they slowly just starved to fucking death on the battlefield. And they kept on burning and burning and moving back. And they were walking in scorched land, you know? So, yeah. I'm just, on the military stuff. But yeah, I just see a big military campaign going here, you know? A worldwide military campaign.
See, the funny thing is, it maybe is worldwide in other places just now. The government, which is a government corporation, it's been at war with the people for a very long time. They've been doing scorched earth, scorched farm policies for 100 years or more. And so it's only now that, you know, which is why I think we're in a great time. Anybody who thinks that this is a dark conversation, that we actually realize that we are at war, that this actually is a war, and they've been at war with us for a very long time. And your politicians don't have a say. So it's not really an anti-politician thing. It's not a pro or anti-political party thing. It's just a common damn sense thing. Do you know what war looks like now? Modern war. And do you actually want to fight back? Or do you want to keep going along to see where these people how far they can take it over your children?
Yeah, they don't have to burn stuff now. They just like tell you can't access it, and people just sit at home compliant or without a home, sit on the street and say, well, I can't fight the government. But, you know, back in the days, they had to burn it because people came charging for it anyway. Well, we stopped doing that. So I'm saying we should go back to, you know, just seizing the assets. They're right there. They even throw away half the food they produce. It's right there. We just have to go and take it.
Yeah, Amanda says silent weapons for quiet wars, and this is true, and this is what they're working on. They have already implemented it, and so we're in the middle of it. And so what do we? You know, this is why we're sitting here together as humans, trying to figure out not just ways around it, but how to work with it, and how to harness it in a more positive manner. And use it for the good, like it was intended, or like it should be intended. And so, plus we want to, we have it in our hearts to help other people develop themselves and get knowledge, because without knowledge, the people will perish.
Amen.
So, and I know that's a biblical statement, but it's one of these true statements that we know, because if I still need to grow in knowledge. I'm still learning how to grow food. I grew a garden, and everything, but hell, I just put the damn plants in the ground. I don't know anything really. I'm starting to really learn how to grow things, but people are growing. You can grow things in your house all year long,
which is a powerful statement, right? Like that's how you defy those who have that type of control over you. That's how you become independent again. That's what a strong man used to be. It's what a strong woman used to be. It's what a strong community and family was, because they could take care of their damn self. And so, if this is resonating with anyone, you definitely want to listen to what these gentlemen are saying, because especially if you got kids to look out for, if you've got, nieces and nephews and people who can't grow their own food, it is almost your obligation of just being a strong family member, somebody who's starting to realize that the world isn't how it's supposed to be, that you have to get strong again. And you have to go back to being able to provide for your damn self.
Which,
Yep.
in this whole build up to this whole thing, this whole false hope that they put in front of people with, I'll say with Trump and everything, this whole turnaround, this whole thing is nothing but, it's nothing but the plan of somebody that get everybody dependent on getting excited about government again. Basically, is really what MAGA really ended up being, in my opinion. It almost
and Obama too, both of them.
Well,
because think about it.
Yeah.
Before Obama, no one gave two damns about politics or elections. Nobody even cared. And this is how they play people. So they found a black president. Oh my God, black president. Everybody got excited. Here's a way that we can change things by putting somebody with a different skin in office. And the other people like, oh, here's a way I can show that I'm not racist and I'm doing things for black people. And so politics became sexy. They picked he was relatively young for, to be the president, running on the beach with his shirt off and like rock the vote and all this, trying to make it sexy to the young generation, this whole global cult that these people serve. And then Donald Trump. Oh my God, he was a conspiracy theorist. He's fighting against vaccines. He wants to restore the republic. He's going to fight the deep state and end the wars and bring the troops on. And it became this real sexy thing to everybody. And so here we are now looking at the aftermath and the chaos of all of these criminal lies. And it's not that these guys are bad or good. Somebody posted a minute ago, we're all just pieces on a chessboard. They're just pieces on a chessboard like we are. They're playing the game like we are. You're going to work and you're making money. You're literally taking food via debt out of the mouths of poor people down the street. But you got to provide. So you're doing that. You're playing your role. They played their role as well, which is why I had no judgment for Obama. I had no judgment for Trump. I would do things a little differently. I think someone mentioned a minute ago, so when Donald Trump was president, he could have gotten rid of the deep state, right? He could just take his pen out and the deep state is gone. He could have closed all those executive branches, and that's what I would have done. But if I did that, I'd be dead. I wouldn't have made it. Yeah, by the time is he signing that? Is that done? He about to sign? Yeah, he is. All right, press the button. And the whole White House.
You probably did
on China or something. So he was smart enough to do that. So the point is, the problem is the system, and people. It's so hard, I think, for people to process that because they pick people who are sexy in terms of the things that they say, and they make it entertaining and popular. They, and they popularize it. And so it's hard for people to just step back and say it doesn't really matter who is in the cult. It's a cult. It doesn't matter who is in the gang that's breaking people down to make them dependents. It's still a gang. It doesn't really matter who is waging war against my neighborhood, my entire nation. I shouldn't be on the side of people who are doing that.
Yeah, feudalist systems have different names, but they're still the same hierarchy, the same system. You can deem it what you will, but as long as the structure remains, that's the problem. And that's what we need to deal with,
Yeah.
Black power.
Diane said, food is medicine. I love that.
Yeah, food is thy medicine and medicine is thy food. And someone said that before about the isms. I think it was Kay. And that, the system is based on isms, right? Racism is not a side effect of this system. Religionism, genderism, LGBTQism, like none of those isms are things you can get rid of from within the system. This system is an ism. It is a group conflict-based ism system. There are components and tools within the system to maintain inequality, to keep certain groups at the bottom, certain groups at the top, and stratified from different members from within. As long as you have an ism group conflict-based system, you will always have everything that looks like racism. And this is, you know, and that's just this is the sexy term of the time, right? Like this is a play. This is literally the bread and circus, and the skit that we're at. We're going from chapter racism into chapter germism, right? So and before racism, it was terrorism, right? So we were gotta fight the terrorists, and they made the terrorists. Now we gotta fight the racism, but the system made the racism, and it needs it. And now we're gonna fight the germism. So the new war on terror is a germ, a thing that you can't see that can be in anybody, and everyone's giving up their rights. And so they always give you this new chapter, this new thing to be scared of, to give up your rights to this 0.01% that doesn't give a damn about anybody. And you can't beat an ism-based system without oppressing somebody else. This literally is an oppression engine. Anybody who's trying to seek power, no one wants equality. No one in government in an ism system wants any kind of damn equality. They want to hold the whip on the plantation. They want to escalate their group above your group and oppress you and put you on the bottom. You know, and as long as everyone's pulling in that Chinese finger trap, nobody's getting out.
Yeah, exactly. If you keep them fighting, they can't join forces and take you out of power.
Nice.
So that's you keep the fight going, and then you come in to referee. Hi, I'm the fair person. Well, you get to be on top then. Yes, you know, it's the same scam as we had going for thousands of years.
Elaine says cults and subcults people aren't ready to give up their identity politics. Of course not. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is
that's a big issue too. People identify through these isms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, need to break down that whole label system.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
But they give it to you. They give it to you at birth, and they make you proud of being a thing. And this is my critique for, you know, the way I was raised, which is, you know, hey, welcome to the world. You're black. You know, stupid that. Like that, just say it out loud, dumb. Like, hey, welcome to the world. You're white. You know, like how much of a slap in the face that is. And I constantly go back and forth with my family on this nonsense. It's just, you know, you have no sense of yourself if your history began in 1847 when you were a poor white indentured servant, or you were a poor black slave. If your history began then your legacy is your masters who gave you that railroad tycoon, that whatever. And so, you know, you're not a race, you're not a color, you're not these identities. These are shackles that they attach to you to abuse you, because they know how you'll respond once you attach your intellect to an identity. We have to get past the identities. We have to grow up and finally realize that the human race is far beyond being a color, an ethnicity, a culture. They're all ignorant and they're all agnostic to equality. We'll never have equality.
And we have to grow up. You said it. That's the magic part. I blame the parents. They don't actually raise their kids to be independent adults. And when they become like 18, 20, they're sitting there waiting for more orders. So when the government comes in like Big Mama and says, you have to do this and you have to do that, of course, they expect that. They were waiting for it to happen because, you know, they were never raised to be independent people. So, yeah, my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, Amanda's leaving. Amanda, thanks for listening to Gerard's podcast. She's awesome. I like that.
This is not my podcast. I'm just a dude on a panel.
Anyway, it's the network. Yeah. So yeah, what a great few days though. You know, what a wake up to me. Just how things are working and how people are starting to understand that they have to make certain ends to begin to produce results out there. And I think that's what we're looking for, is results.
Yeah. Well, results and that. So, you know, just growing up, right? Growing up. And when I say that, what I mean by that is just maturing. Like, strong people stand on their own. You know, and I had this discussion in text with someone else, is that, you know, they said, you know, they said, oh, well, you know, you're a part of the black race. And I said, Sorry, not. I'm not a slave. The United States Incorporated doesn't own me. Like my lineage didn't begin with slavery. And the person said something, well, you're insecure. So I'm insecure. Is
And black and white are not two different races. I just want to emphasize that right away. We are one race called human.
Right. There's only one human race, but here in America, like this is the challenge because children are indoctrinated to believe this at birth. And so the point was that strong people stand on their own. Secure people, they don't need cults and groups and identities. Strong people will stand on the truth no matter what it is. And that's just where, the direction where I'm resonating and heading in life right now is I'm going to say what's true. And I really don't care who's around. I don't care what happens. I don't care what groups are around. I don't care if they cry. I don't care if they want to fight. I'm taking on Hogo's energy. Hogo that's my prison guy right there. That's when I first ran into Hogo. They threw him into prison for being a part of the Yellow Vest. That's what that whole movement is about, right? RIC. It's about, you having your own vote in what your world or your nation works instead of giving that vote to a representative. And that's that march back to sovereignty. And we have to be willing to go to prison. At a certain point in time, we have to be willing to stand up in a crowd and say, no, you people are wrong. You people are crazy. You're a part of the system that, and this is my critique, just being because of what I look like. I tell people, say, you know what, I'm not going to lie to my friends and other groups that you want equality. You don't. You want to hold the whip. You just want to be the master. You want to oppress them. And when we can start being honest like that, then I think that's when we start taking back integrity. And if we all can start taking back integrity, then we can start to know who we can trust, perhaps who we can't.
They say that abuse breeds more abuse. And if you treat it like shit when you grow up, then it's more likely you become a tyrant. And it's kind of cycles of abuse upon cycles of abuse. We need to break the whole, abuse cycle as such, and teach people that, you have issues if you want to rule other people. That
you want to
that's
control other people.
Yeah, that's a weakness.
Yeah,
so,
which is one point I'll disagree with. Not disagree. I'll say I think differently about what you said a moment ago, which is I don't actually blame the parents. Like what you said was solid, right? Abuse comes from abuse.
Well, that was said with a bit of irony, but you have to blame society for not raising adults. Then somebody has to take their share of the system.
Right, it's the system, and so when I was locked,
but the system consists of people and parents, and that's how you get to you. And I could technically put up a scenario where we could get to you too, because you have children. I don't have children. You can put my children in some kind of torture situation and get me to bow down. But people with children, they do have a vulnerability in that sense. Or parents in an old person's home. That's how they're scaring everybody now. Your grandma can die. You said it a million times already. But what about the 9 million people that starve to death on this planet every year? Nobody's crying about that. It's not about the death numbers. It's about the personal privilege and all that stuff.
Right. So let me hit that too, because I was thinking about that not long ago. I was thinking about the whole quarantine, right? So Canada has these new concentration camps that they're putting up, and the minister who was speaking out against it was silenced. And then I went out to do a quick search. I'd say, you know what? Every time I see something bad happen in another country, I'm like, you know what? We already have a law for that. I bet you we do. And so I went out and I started looking up quarantine statutes for America. And we already have all those laws. Every state has a quarantine statute, right? They already have the ability to take you, if you've tested positive, and put you in a prison and not let you out until they deem you safe. So we already have that. We are the world's premier police state, open air prison. We don't have a government. We have a governing corporation people think is a government. So I wanted to address that. And so I was thinking, it's like, wow, people say they don't get the vaccine. All they got to do is get your kids and put them in a camp, and the parents will capitulate. And I thought about one of my favorite criminals, a brother that I love, but I don't like what he did. His name was George Bush. He said that you never negotiate with a terrorist, because if you negotiate with a terrorist, you empower the terrorist, right? So I'll say this to the parents, I'll say this to the kids, everybody else. You have to figure out who you are. And you can't let anybody walk you or scare you into crossing that line of who you are, no matter who they grab, no matter who they torture, no matter what they do. And this is where spirituality enters the conversation, right? If you're not a part of this thing that's going on, that if you are some sort of a wave, spiritual energy creature, whatever vibration, having a human experience, then you're not too worried about the flesh. You're not too worried about the matter. And this is the challenge that this deep state, this global cult has with folks who are Muslim, is that they don't really care what you do to their body. They actually stand on, and that's how they have been able to fight and defy these attempts of an invasion and colonization. And we have to have that strength as well. So anyway, so to answer your, to kind of hit that point, if they can get to you through your husband, if they can get to you through your boyfriend, if they can get to you through your kids, it's guaranteed that they will do that. You have to be a believer. You have to find something that you believe in. You have to, Paul, what you were saying a moment ago, where people are dying every day. At a certain point in time, you have to prioritize the future of 7 billion people or 3 billion children over your one child or over your one life. We have to go back to being believers in the human race.
We're almost 8 billion, by the way, 7.8 billion.
8 billion? Damn it, Paul. Is that Hogo? You doing that? Who's having these babies, man? Y'all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you know, that we need to like chill out with the whole baby making.
Well, and what, that's why they have what they call birth control, and I guess, all these other things, but nobody's taking advantage of it.
Well, it seems like, the right wing wants to attack everything that has to do with abortion and contraception now, and, do a whole Puritan thing on that. And that will lead to, of course, more, babies and humans. And yeah, we need to think strategically about how to depopulate without actually killing off people, First of all, education seems to be the thing. All the, highly educated countries, they have lower birth rates. So bringing education to the third world, that would kind of be one of the solutions. Of course, resources themselves, because in a lot of third world countries, children equal a workforce. If you make 20 of them, you become powerful, So, lots to do with tradition, lots to do with access to resources and such. But we have solutions to this stuff if we could just kill off evil capitalism. Oops, I said it that way.
We're not overpopulated. We misallocate resources.
Yeah, but that's if we can't, allocate our resources right now. What if we doubled the population on the planet? Can you imagine? Even if we had enough resources to fill that, we just fuck up everything. We can't actually do it. So right now, I'm thinking like maybe 3-4 billion we could manage. Well, we can't manage 8. That's obvious. Just look at the state of this planet.
Right. And we can't manage in this model and with the intellect of the people that we have right now. Right.
Yeah. So if we're going to be running after resources, if it's going to be like a resource war back and forth like this, it's a never-ending cycle of problems. But if we actually give them education and give them technology to run their own stuff, one less problem for the whole world. We go and do everything automatic, clean, green, and free for people. But that's the thing people can't get. You want to give something away to others for nothing? Yes, that is actually what I'm suggesting here. We actually just, make universal income for everyone, if you will.
Very interesting.
Come on, let me hear. I'm a Marxist now. Yeah. Where's the angry guy? No, he's not here. I forgot. But
Oh, Mark. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Janine says, let me see what you guys think of this. But she says education system is leaning towards girls. Boys, and then it's, kind of but ... Boys are suffering. But anyway, when I look at the push on Netflix and all the female power and how they're psychologically building up a kind of just self-conscious about about women and how relationships are and what they should be. But I just thought there's a lot to that. And they're building up, ladies for a reason, and I believe. But I'm not one. I'm asking everybody else what they thought about that comment. I thought that was.
I have one there. That keeping the fight going. If you can have a fight going between men and women, perfect. That's a fight that'll never stop because we're different and blah blah blah. And I just see the same divide and conquer tactic as they use on everything.
And then it says, Susan says, and for some reason, autism affects boys more than girls.
Well, genes and everything. Girls are like the most central part of the reproduction system. Without girls, you couldn't actually, reproduce anything. Boys would be like secondary in the genetic context. But, this is, for humans, we're pretty much not like equal, both in brain capacity and size and such. We're a little bigger than females, and they might be a little smarter than us, but that's pretty much how it's like. That's just science. For every male that got annoyed by hearing that, that's just from the science point of view. In plants, a lot of plants have female domination, complete female domination, where the boys are just there to pollinate the females, more or less.
Right.
Being the weirdo, I have to say that just like sticking to the principle, right? So if you are that thing, if you do have that identity, then you're feeding into the ism. You're feeding into the identity-ism. When I meet somebody, I'm just going to sound horrible, but I don't know a better way to say it. So I'm just going to say it. I get in trouble all the time anyway. When I meet someone, the only reason I care if they're a woman is I'm trying to put something in her vagina. So it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. If you're trying to date someone, that's one thing. Okay, if they are the sex, they got the organs of what you're looking for what you want to do, or the person you want a companion in life, then yeah, their gender matters. But what other context does gender matter? Right? Because every other context in every other social interaction that we have is based in like intelligence, intellectual ability, working on a project, doing something, buying something at the grocery store. Nobody's genitalia matter at that point. And so for me, as much as possible, I'm more and more seeing people just neutral as people because it doesn't really matter. I know every type of different woman that fits with every type of different man, whether they're tough, wrestlers, fighters, hunters. I think we really have to get past this idea of sexualizing everything in our society. And the whole purpose of gender is having a baby and sex. And if you're not trying to have a baby and sex in that moment you're meeting with someone, then maybe in the terms of legislation, their gender doesn't matter. Maybe it's discrimination every way we look at it. We completely.
Well, I would argue that gender actually does not matter because in the big context, gender is not an absolute. Before we developed male and female genders, we were just one gender, fertilizing ourselves.
Yeah, so Hannah just wanted to make a point that she, and she does a lot of research, but she says that the autism comment on the girls, could be false, and it's just because girls aren't, diagnosed as much or something. But regardless, it doesn't matter. It's, the point was a really good point, and everybody knows that autism is a big medical term they use out there nowadays, and and also a way for people to get get relief from our government. They'll get, like, what is that? Disability. That's a big deal. Disability.
I'm not sure what just happened, but
yeah, it looks like we lost. Are you still there,
talking,
Gerard?
Here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Gerard. I don't know. Anybody in the comments, if you can put something in the comments that something happened. Yeah, we can hear you.
I know. I'm just playing along during the time.
A little more volume, though.
Are we back?
I think we're still here, Gerard. I don't know if you're getting an interference on your end.
Can you see me or hear me?
Yes, I can. You're on camera.
Okay.
And
you can see Hogo?
And I can see Hogo, and he has his, I think he was working on his audio.
I'm good. I'm right here. My audio should be fine.
Oh, right on.
All right. So just Paul dropped. Okay.
Yeah.
So well, he was mid talking. He was right in the paragraph, and he just disappeared. And then you were talking. It was weird. So okay, we're back. So
maybe his battery died.
Might be having an internet issue here.
Maybe his battery died and phone went off.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to try to go where he was going with that. And he says, I don't think that gender matters as much as we want it to. I think that you are what you are, and it's more and more. I'm kind of agreeing with this idea that it's a spectrum. Right? I mean, you've got genitals, but every aspect that we call mannerisms of a man and a woman, we tend to give them and indoctrinate into them, from birth. We give little girls doll babies and Barbies, and we don't play soccer, don't play football, you can't ride a bike in certain cultures. And so I think, I don't know, I'm listening to some of the people who talk about this stuff. I guess they're psychologists. I think we give people their nuances and they struggle to becoming, their own self. I think unless you're trying to date or have babies or live or marry the person, we really have to stop identifying and using the labels that come along with prejudices when we deal with people.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the genders is, I think when we first brought up the subject and it was brought up in the chat, and one of the first things was perfect. This is exactly what they like. And that was Thor. And so, of course, they're going to exploit, these things that we are fighting out there are going to exploit that and make that an issue all the time. And so race and gender and all this equality, genderism, and all this stuff is geared towards keeping us occupied and under control. I mean, that's my opinion, and that's a general thing. And it's not demeaning. It's not demeaning, the conversation on gender. It's not that.
Right.
I'm not trying to demean the facts. Intelligently, we can speak about everything.
Well, we should speak about everything. The only way that we learn is we speak, and we don't need to speak less. We need to speak more. Like this whole patriarchal concept of the world, right, was based in women not speaking, right? Women are supposed to be seen and not heard, and so now is a time where I think we're reversing a lot of that for all populations, right? Like hate speech, as an example, right? The answer to hate speech is more speech, right? The answer to bad science is more science, more data, more information. The answer isn't censoring and shutting things up. That's the strategy of an abuser. We need to hear more and more and more, which is why I used to encourage, and I probably should do it more women to live stream. And I'm glad, we have a lot of friends who agree. But we need to hear more and more of their perspectives. I've mentioned it before, and what kind of blew me away in my indoctrination being brought up in the United States Incorporated was that, domestic violence was a rare thing, that these things didn't happen all that. But the reality is that most people just don't talk about it. Happens all the time. I'd have to say that probably 80% of the women I know have said that they've been abused, and probably well over 60% have said they've been raped. And once I started to realize that, it blew me away. I had a friend who explained how she was kidnapped by an ex-boyfriend and held captive for like 4 or 5 days, raped over and over. And I won't go through the details anymore because she actually is around these parts. Horrendous things happen in our world, and we have to talk about them. These things shouldn't be censored. We need to know more and more what everybody's dealing with. We need to know where the hell the yellow vests are, damn it. Where the yellow vests? I haven't seen them. They kill everybody.
Yellow
When they
vests are on
killed,
the
they killed
dashboard.
our big page. We had one called Yellow Vest TV that was getting a lot of traffic, and they killed us off. And I don't know why I dropped off the call, by the way. I was right here all the time.
Weird.
But I had to re-enter, so it's the app. So yeah.
It's a cool app, though. I'm liking it. You know, I'm learning about all the possibility apps out there.
So they don't want to see people marching in the streets. They don't want to see any yellow vest. They don't want to see anything that goes against the government structure. So that's pretty much what you're not seeing. And like I said, 20,000 people marching in Leipzig. That was very uninteresting for the mainstream media, even though it's a gigantic demonstration.
Yep.
And of course, 30,000 signatures from health professionals on the Great Barrington Declaration that goes against, or speaks against this whole lockdown strategy as being not the way to do it. That's kind of the bulk of experts you have there, versus that handful of government employees that have vested interest in parroting the mainstream narrative. So it brings us back to the same thing again, how these companies have strategically taken over media, and we have to make a strategy to fight them again. It doesn't have a very easy solution as such because it's so intricate, but yeah.
So I guess I decided today I'm going to work on a plan and distribute it to the network. And this plan is going to be written in a document, and it's going to have, basically bullet points and a plan on how to do it. Based on our notes from the networking that we've already started, and the conversations, the long, good conversations. And I just decided, you know what, I'll write it, and we'll all work on the code.
Super duper.
But that's what we have to do. We all have to come about our solutions in doing what we can, to fixing this crap sandwich called the world. Unfortunately, a lot of our families and friends are doing everything they can to support and prop it up. But, things are probably how they should be. And everyone wakes up in their own time. So we've gone for a little while. I'm trying to do my best to keep my live streams under 10 hours, and it's real hard to do that. So,
yeah, I'm ready for a break myself here pretty soon. So
let's do this. Let's go around the world, go around the room real quick, and give your solution. Like, what's the next steps in terms of we are in this mass global war. What are your thoughts, and how do we start to climb out of it?
I'll go
Who
first.
wants to go first?
Or what are you doing? Or what are you doing specifically to share with the people in terms of how you feel we need to be? This is the next step we need to take.
Well, we all have the same problem, more or less. So first step I'm thinking is just bringing people together and brainstorming, all the aspects of this problem. The more we, separate ourselves and go into these, fractions and try to solve it that way, the easier it is to get these fractions fighting. The media manipulators, they know how to do that. So first of all, let's just put down all our weapons and get into conference and discuss our common problem with this tyranny. So that's my first part of the solution.
And I second that. That I've been on that because I'm not one to to understand exactly what we need to do. So that's exactly what I did, is started reaching out. And on every podcast I was doing, I said, hey, if you're a podcaster, call me, message me. We've got to start getting together. There's no you and me. It's now us. And it's either us or we're going to fall. And so I just reached out, and so this is why we're together. And so it worked. So we have to continue this.
Right on.
Amen.
So
What you got, Ogo? What do we do next?
What do we do next? I don't know.
Well-
We touched on a lot of topics and ideas tonight, and I thought about all those, and I had reflections on all of it, and we're down to the point where it's what are we going to do? And what are we going to do?
We already are doing. We're bringing people together. Of course, this is part of the reason I jumped on this was because I wanted to explain to Gerard that we already started this podcast and networking thing, and we want to bring him in too. And of course, we could restream his streams too inside our network, and give him potential, a much bigger reach.
Yep.
Of course, he talks on the same subject. He's a perfect panel member in the network. Yeah, we're pretty much just, getting everybody in on the same team. And yeah, I see many solutions there.
Together, everyone achieves more. Together, everyone achieves more.
Exactly.
Wow.
And all they want to do is keep us separate. And as far as gender, we talked about this. In the end, if a female speaks out against the cabal, or whatever we want to call this thing, they're going to get reamed just like everybody else. So, it's a fake reality they're building. They're trying to put together these wars of gender and political, but they're kind of just manufactured. And when it comes down to it, if a woman turns against that system, she's going to be destroyed. There's examples of it out there. Just like
plenty.
The nurses, for instance, they speak out, they get, they're done. So equality? No, yeah, it's equality according to who? That's what we got.
Pretty much.
So,
but
my take is certainly what all you fine gentlemen, just said, and I appreciate you guys coming on. And I'm gonna end actually on Elaine's comment. There is that in order to have successful dialogue, emotion has to be second to logic, and not many adults can do it. Right? So it's the emotion that attaches to identity that makes us ignore the facts, right? And so this is where we are. If we can accept the fact that we are conquered and divided, then what you were saying a minute ago, unity is the only way, the absolute only way. And it means that we have to lay our emotions down. We're going to have to lay some hurt down. We got to lay some hate down. We got to lay some of the history in the past down and prioritize the next generation and the future over how we feel in the moment of what is going on.
Yeah, my enemy's enemy is my friend, they say.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, brothers. I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll do it again soon. Might do one tomorrow if we get enough people who want to join in.
You need to come on our show tonight.
So we're going to be sending you all kinds of invites. So
I'm definitely not ducking you. I get a lot of messages nowadays, and I've been fighting for the past week with a bunch of other little things that are going on in my little sphere of the world for the moment. I'm not ducking you. I get a lot of stuff. I'm definitely going to join up, and if I can join tonight, I absolutely will.
Super.
All right. You guys have a great day now.